What's up guys, Readiness Reviews here with you again, and in today's video we are doing another military surplus rifle unboxing. This box contains a C-grade No.1 Mark III Lee-Enfield from Royal Tiger Imports. Over the past several years I have bought quite a few Enfields from RTI with pretty mixed results on condition. Recently they were offering up C-grade examples of their No.1s for $200, and at that kind of price I couldn't help myself but to roll those milsurp dice one more time. Before we get this box over to the desk to take a closer look, I want to remind you guys to give the video a thumbs up if you like seeing these military surplus firearm videos here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future content. If you have any ideas for future videos you'd like to see from me, let me know about those down in the comments. Now let's see how the C-grade Enfield's looking. So for the first time in a long time, this box actually came to me without being completely beat up. It's a little dented in, but no major damage. Given what kind of condition the B-grade No.1 Enfield I received from Royal Tiger Imports was in, I'm not expecting much at all from a C-grade example. I can only hope, at the minimum, it's worth at least what I have in it. Loads of packing peanuts in there. We have a taped up internal cardboard sleeve and a bubble wrapped rifle. Well, we have a bolt included at least. There is our C-grade No.1 Enfield. It's evident right away that a rather large piece of the front handguard is missing. However, the rear handguard is included. Unfortunately, this rifle is missing the magazine, but they were advertised as such, so I knew it wasn't going to have one going into it. The only information this tag had was Enfield No.1 Mark III. This is a far more rusty rifle than I'm used to with the other Enfields that I've seen from Royal Tiger Imports. And you might think that's a bad thing. Having a rusty rifle isn't necessarily good, but what that means to me is that this rifle didn't undergo the extensive wire wheeling process of the B-grade No.1 Enfield that I received from Royal Tiger Imports. So all of the metal surfaces on this rifle are in the state as they were stored, and it will be up to me to go through the restoration process of cleaning that metal up. I trust myself far more than I do somebody with a wire wheel to do a good job in the restoration. Let's pull this bolt out. Well, that's not nearly as sticky as some that I've run into. I had to give our bolt head a couple little taps with a hammer to get it over the bolt catch. The bolt head itself has a ton of play in it, and it's really beaten up looking. I've never really seen a bolt head in that kind of condition. That's marked with an M. On number 4 bolts, conveniently, they come in 3 different sizes that you can adjust for your head spacing. On a No.1 rifle, you don't have that luxury. Different bolt heads will head space differently, but they're not numbered based on the size. That's unscrewing very easily. Firing pin doesn't seem to be damaged in any way. The bolt head does include the extractor and the extractor spring. Cocking piece looks decent. Now the cocking piece lock screw appears to be brass on this rifle. That's something I've never seen before. And it is very loose. You can just screw it in and out very easily by hand. Something about this bolt is just not sitting well with me. The bolt head seems to be out of spec maybe. It's really hard to say. Usually I don't worry too much about head spacing in Enfield rifles. They're notorious for having really loose head space anyway. As long as the rifle shoots, I'm usually not too worried about it. I think on this example, if I'm going to try to shoot this bolt, I probably need to gauge that head space to be safe. With that said, it does look like we have a fairly complete bolt, although this bolt head may need to be replaced. We have a British BSA made rifle dated 1918, and that is a SHT LE Mark III Star, your quintessential SMLE rifle. Our safety assembly is fully intact. This buttstock looks to be in really good shape. It seems to have some decent looking wood grain. No major cracks or anything that I can tell. We have a brass stock disc, brass butt plate, and that does come with a sling loop. The forestock seems to be in good, serviceable condition. There is one crack right around the barrel band area. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute. Our band and sling loop is included with screw. We have about half of our front handguard, and then we have our nose cap, front sight that looks like it's in great shape, and all the appropriate screws to hold everything together. The adjustments for the rear sight are pretty well seized up. I can't really get them to move, but the rear sight is fully included, along with its tiny little locking pin. The rear sight wings are a little bit loose, so I guess that screw needs to be tightened. Clip bridge looks as it should. They put the import markings for this one on the receiver. IO Inc., Melbourne, Florida, Enfield No.1 Mark III, UK, 303 British. I don't really like seeing import marks on the receiver, but that is a very small and not very noticeable import mark, so they didn't do the worst job on that. So far, what I'm seeing is a rifle that could most certainly be restored. Most of the valuable components are present and appear to be in decent working condition. The major deciding factor on whether or not it's worth the time and money to restore this rifle, though, will be the condition of the bore. First thing we'll do to assess that bore is give it a quick muzzle test. I do have some PPU 150 grain 303 ammo here. We'll slide that straight down into the bore. I pushed down pretty hard, and we still have a decent little ring of copper showing through. When assessing a bore, that's definitely something you want to see. Now with this little copper showing, we know this bore is worn, but not completely shot out, at the muzzle at least. After a look inside the bore, though, the story's a little bit different. Bore on this rifle is extremely dark, one of the darkest I've seen. The rifling is most certainly there, but you can tell it has some wear to it, and there is some visible pitting. With that being said, I still wouldn't write this bore off completely. I think there's enough rifling left to where it will clean up decently, and with the muzzle not being completely gone, this rifle very well could turn out to be at least accurate enough to put some rounds on paper. I did notice that the chamber is super dirty and appears to have a lot of rust in it. So if I ever do hope to shoot this rifle, it is going to need some serious restoration work. I noticed just now that there is a little chunk of wood missing from both the front handguard and the side of the forestock, but still not really a big deal in my opinion. There's only so much we can tell just by looking at the outside of the rifle. To really see what we're working with, we got to get under that wood line. Get this barrel band off first. That screw head is in terrible shape, and this is on there very tight, but I did finally get it to loosen up. That thing is super dirty and rusty. We should be able to go ahead and pull this handguard off. Oh boy, look at that rusty barrel. That handguard is all kinds of chewed up. And check out all this orange rust all along where the wood was touching the metal. That is a super rusty barrel on the outside. This lower screw for the nose cap looks brand new. The side one, though, not so much. Wiggle this nose cap off. Man, that is a lot of rust. While we're up here, there's a glance at the crown. There's actually a little bit of pitting right around the edge here. That's not really something we want to see, but I've seen worse crowns. It's almost like this rifle's had some parts replaced, because this middle screw, again, is in outstandingly perfect shape, where others look all chewed up. I did just notice a small crack in the bottom of the forestock there. I'm hoping it won't be quite so bad on the inside. Take out this main action screw and our tiny little trigger guard screw. Then off comes our trigger assembly, thoroughly coated with gunk, gack, and rust. I guess we'll try to pull our rear handguard off. That has a split running down the middle, but it does have an arsenal repair. Super dirty, but doesn't look too bad. Look at all that crud on the barrel. I hope we don't find pitting under that. Off with the forestock, and oh my goodness, this forestock is rough. So right away, we can just tell it is disgustingly filthy. No surprise in how the rest of the rifle looked though. This little hairline crack that we noticed on the bottom doesn't look like it runs through the inside too bad. We are missing some wood around our bushing in the middle here. On the back of these No.1s, it's really common for there to be all kinds of cracks. This rifle is no exception. It does have our steel reinforcement on the back there, but we can tell a little crack running through the bottom and another crack running through the side. A lot of the No.1 rifles coming from Royal Tiger imports will have a metal screw running through the middle of the stock. That's referred to as an Ishi bolt, which indicates Indian service for a rifle. This No.1 rifle does not have that Ishi bolt, so although it does appear some of Royal Tiger Imports rifles spent time in India, perhaps this was not among them. Even with the issues this forestock has, it is not completely gone. You could glass bed this rifle and fix a lot of those small problems that it has. With nothing more than a good cleaning, this would be a shootable forestock for a good while at least. The only rifles that I've seen that look this bad on the inside are those terrible condition No.1 muskets that Century Arms was selling. This is so disgusting, but I guess that's about as much as you could expect for a $200 rifle. Is this rifle worth that $200 price point? Seeing as how it appears that you could oil this thing up, slap it back together, stick a round in it, and send it, it actually seems like it might be. There are no major components missing or broken in a way where they can't be put back into service. Yes, it is disgustingly dirty. It needs a lot of restoration work to be a pretty rifle, and I wouldn't feel 100% comfortable shooting it in the condition it's in right now. But in the age of $600 plus No.1 Enfields, getting one in this kind of shape for $200 bucks, doesn't seem like the worst deal to me. And for right now, I'm not mad I made that purchase. Now that could change when we dig into the actual restoration of this rifle. We could run into all kinds of problems that I did not notice in this video, but that'll be a bridge that we burn when we cross it. Let me know what you thought about this C-grade #1 Enfield down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future milsurp firearms content. One of these days, we will get around to restoring this rifle and seeing what it can do at the range. But admittedly, I have a lot of irons in the fire at the moment, so this one will just have to get in line. If you picked up one of these C-grades yourself, what kind of condition was yours in, and do you think it would be shootable? Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will catch you in the next video. See you then. Peace.